Welcome to the second edition of No Filter Mets Talk after a brief hiatus for the last couple weeks. I'm just going to get right down to business. From the get go, Mike Jacobs signs with the Mets for a $900,000 one-year minor league contract. I think that the Mets needed power off the bench, and I thought that this was a good move in terms of adding power to the bench. But as far as the first base situation goes, I thought it was a bad move. Um, the Mariners signed Ryan Garco for $500,000 for 1 year, and he would have been a much better alternative than Mike Jacobs to platoon with Daniel Murphy, or at least challenge Daniel Murphy for the starting job at first base. Like I said, I think the Mets will go into the season with Daniel Murphy as the first baseman, and I'm okay with that. But in terms of starting the season in spring training with some competition, I don't know if Mike Jacobs is the type of guy you want to give a $900,000 contract to. He's, he batted 220 last year. I mean, he batted 220 against left-handers last year. He doesn't have good numbers against left-handed pitching, just like Murphy. So I really don't know why you would go with one or the other. Yeah, Jacobs has better power numbers than Murphy, but I think I'd rather stick with Murphy. Murphy hits more doubles. He'll hit better for average than Jacobs. He'll strike out less. I'm not sure I understand the move. What I don't understand, what really puzzles me about the move is the money behind it. $900,000 for a guy on a minor league deal when you could have had Ryan Garco for $500,000. And like I said, I mean, he's a good first baseman, Ryan Garco. He's solid. He's a right-hander. So even if you wanted to put him on the bench, you could platoon him and Murphy, and you could even use him as a late innings defensive replacement for Murphy. Uh, I don't really understand Omar's thinking. I'm guessing they weren't high on Garco at all. So I don't know. And, you hear a lot of the bloggers out there, reminding everybody that Mike Jacobs used to be a catcher. Well, you know what? Mike Jacobs hasn't caught a game since being in the minor leagues in 2005 for a Double-A affiliate. The guy tore his labrum in his right shoulder. He's not going to catch. Forget about catching. Mike Jacobs' catching days are over. The guy is strictly a designated hitter or a bad first baseman. He's not a good first baseman. And pairing him with Luis Castillo on that side of the infield, it's gonna be a nightmare for guys like Oliver Perez and guys like Mike Pelfrey, guys who are gonna make you put the ball in play. I don't really understand the move. I thought the Mets needed to go for a right-handed defensive first baseman who could put some, have a little pop in the bat. But I don't really understand the move at all. Who knows? Maybe Mike Jacobs won't even make the team. But I thought that Ryan Garco would have been a cheaper alternative. Made more sense because he's right-handed and he's a way better defensive player than Jacobs and Murphy. So I don't really get the move. Another move that I absolutely don't like and I don't guess is the signing of Hisanori Takahashi, the Japanese left-hander who, let's be honest here, I mean, the guy had a 3 ERA in Japan, and that's decent. It's nothing to go crazy about, but I mean, right-handers hit over 300 against him, and they're talking about him being, and you heard Kevin Burkhardt say that this guy is going to be brought in to compete for the fifth starter spot, and that's going to just make Met fans crazy because I don't want to see Takahashi looking great against Double A and Triple A players in spring training and winning a job, and then coming up and getting clocked in the major leagues. Because how can you sign a guy who throws in the mid 80s, so he's not overpowering at all, and he in Japan, which is let's be honest, all right, Japanese baseball players, in terms of offense, are not even close to the caliber of Major League Baseball players, and they're hitting well over 300 against them right-handers. So how are you going to make that guy a starter? How can he start? He can't pitch to Ryan. You're going to make this guy pitch to Jason Worth and Jimmy Rollins. We're in a lot of trouble if that's going to be the Hanley Ramirez. I don't even want to see what that's going to look like. I'd rather have Tim Redding back, and that's saying how upset I am about this move. I don't know really what else to say about that. In terms of the fifth starter spot, I'd rather have just handed the ball to Figueroa, Fernando Diev, and John Neeson. Said, "May the best man win," because I think that gives us the best chance. I don't really understand the move. Sometimes Omar does these moves that makes you scratch your head, and you really just don't know what to do. One move that he did make that I kind of liked a little Shawn Riggans, catcher who was with the Rays last year. Riggins had a really tough year last year, which saw him get demoted a couple of times. But in terms of his Major League Baseball career, he actually has some pretty solid numbers, and he handles the pitching staff really well. And I think that he actually has a better chance of winning the backup job, well, who even knows who the starter is at this point, but winning a job on the Mets, he could beat out Omir Santos. So I think that if the Mets win its opening day with Henry Blanco and Shawn Riggins at catcher, I don't think that would be too bad. I don't think it's going to make anybody say we're going to the World Series, but I think that those Henry Blanco and Shawn Riggins are two guys who know how to play play the catcher position, can handle the pitching staff. The only thing that worries you about Riggins is that some shoulder tendonitis last year, so who knows how he's going to be defensively if guys are going to start running on him. Who knows about that? But it's nice to There's one thing about the Mets. That's going to be interesting in spring training. It's going to be the battle for the two spots on the roster for catcher. I think Josh Tolley, don't count him out. Josh Tolley, he showed a lot when he got brought up last year. I don't think he's ready to just take the fact that he's going to go to AAA. Chris Coast, it is what it is. I think him and Tolley will be down in AAA, but you never know. Henry Blanco, Omir Santos, and now Shawn Riggins. So I think there's going to be a lot of competition in catcher. That's going to be fun to watch as spring training nears. I think we're one day away now. And I think the fifth starter spot is going to be very interesting. I think you got guys like Josh Fogg, and now Takahashi in the mix, and Nelson Figueroa, John Neese, and Fernando Niev. So there's one thing that the Mets will have a lot of interest in. It's the fifth starter spot and catcher. I think they're still in desperate need of another left-hander in the bullpen. I don't know where they plan on going in terms of that. I don't know. Maybe Takahashi will end up in the bullpen. I think that's where it makes the most sense for him. I'm not even excited about that. I don't. I just think that the Mets needed to go out. Joe Bimel's out there. Why can't we sign Joe Bimel? Like Joe Bimel, you want to give? I mean, they gave Takahashi almost $1 million, and an extra $500,000 in performance bonuses. Why are they throwing money at guys who are not proven in the major leagues? You're gonna throw $1 million at a guy who's never pitched in the major leagues and got clocked by right-handers in Japan? It just doesn't make any sense. Why not go after a guy like Joe Bimel? Why not? You could get him on a minor league deal. You could get him for like $600,000-$700,000. I just don't understand the thinking sometimes of the Mets. See, I could understand if they were going to get Takahashi for $500,000 or $400,000, something like that. And you know what? You can't really knock the move. But when you commit $1 million to somebody who numbers are not impressive at all, I'm not impressed by this guy at all. So Omar does these things, and everybody wants to say that we're too hard on Omar, but you know what? We're not too hard on Omar because he does a lot of things that make you scratch your head, that makes you very upset, and I just don't know what else to think about some of these moves, except to try and go into spring training with the best attitude possible. If Jose Reyes, he's going to be the big watch. Besides fifth starter and catcher, everybody's going to be looking at Jose Reyes to see how he looks, and if he's what gets the Mets going. When he's going, the Mets win. So, and there's going to be a lot of extra pressure on him now that Carlos Beltran's down. So, I'm excited about spring training. I'm a little pessimistic. I can't lie because of some of the moves that the Mets have made that make you scratch your head. But as Mets fans, we got to go into the season. We got to be positive because, like I said, the National League is wide open and we can win this wild card. I don't think we're going to win the division, but I think we can win the wild card. And once you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. So I'll be back again next week. NoFilterMets@gmail.com if you have any questions or comments. And looking forward to hearing from you guys. Thanks.